The distress signal echoed across the void of space like a ghostly wail. It was old, fragmented, and in a language few could decipher anymore. Yet, its origin was unmistakable, deep within the Perseus Arm, a region of the galaxy shrouded in mystery and fear. Few dared to venture there, for it was said to be the home of the Deathworlders, a species more myth than fact. Aboard the starship Calvarim, Captain Tevik of the Atrial Confederacy leaned forward in his command chair, his scaled fingers drumming against the edge of his console. "What is it saying?" he demanded, his voice sharp. The communications officer, a young Zanari with bioluminescent patterns flickering nervously across his skin, replied, "It's an SOS. The signal is ancient but it appears genuine. It's requesting immediate aid." "From who?" Tevik's frill flared in irritation. "Humans, sir." The bridge went silent. Every crew member turned to stare at the officer as if he had just spoken the name of a ghost. "Humans," Tevik repeated, tasting the word like poison. "Those are just stories to frighten hatchlings. No one's seen a human in centuries." "Nevertheless, sir," the Zanari said, shifting uncomfortably, "the signal matches what little we know of their language. It's broadcasting coordinates too." Tevik hesitated. The Atrial Confederacy was vast and powerful, but the legends of humans lingered like shadows in the collective psyche of the galaxy. Deathworlders, they were called, a species born on a planet so hostile that even the toughest alien warriors would perish within days. They had once been a force in the galaxy, allies to some and terrors to others. But they had vanished without explanation centuries ago, leaving behind only rumors and relics. "Set a course," Tevik ordered finally. "I want to see who or what is sending that signal." As the Calvarim jumped into hyperspace, Tevik couldn't shake the feeling that they were hurtling toward something far bigger than they could comprehend. The coordinates led them to a desolate system, its star a dim, red giant on the brink of death. Orbiting one of its barren planets was a derelict human vessel, its hull scarred and battered but unmistakably intact. "Scan it," Tevik ordered. The ship's AI chirped in response. No life signs detected aboard. However, there is a massive data storage unit emitting the signal. "Boarding party," Tevik said, rising from his seat. "Prepare for entry." The interior of the human ship was a tomb. Frosted-over corridors stretched endlessly, illuminated only by the faint, flickering glow of emergency lights. The air was stale but breathable, a testament to human engineering. Tevik led the team, his blaster drawn. They moved cautiously, the sound of their footsteps echoing eerily. Finally, they reached the source of the signal, a central command room dominated by a massive console. "Looks like a black box," one of the crew muttered, approaching the device. As they activated the console, a holographic figure flickered to life. It was human, a female, clad in what appeared to be a military uniform. Her expression was grim, her eyes piercing even through the projection. "If you're seeing this," the hologram said, "it means the galaxy is in danger. My name is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Fleet. This is a distress call. Humanity has been scattered, but we are not gone. If you need us, if the galaxy faces a threat too great to bear, use the coordinates embedded in this message. But be warned, summoning the Terran fleet comes at a cost." The hologram faded, leaving the room in stunned silence. Tevik's mind raced. The message was a relic from a bygone era, but the coordinates were active and recent. What could have prompted such a signal to reawaken? And what did the warning mean? "Captain," one of the crew said, breaking the silence. "What do we do?" Tevik hesitated. The rational part of him wanted to leave, to report this to the Confederacy and let them decide. But a gnawing curiosity, and a growing sense of dread, compelled him otherwise. "Input the coordinates," he said. "Let's see if this Terran fleet still exists." As the ship's engines roared to life and the jump drive powered up, Tevik couldn't shake the feeling that they had just crossed a line they could never uncross. In a remote corner of the galaxy, deep within an uncharted nebula, a fleet of ships stirred. Sleek and angular, their hulls gleamed with a dark, menacing luster. They were dormant no longer. Aboard the flagship, a human AI awoke. Its sensors flared to life, and it processed the incoming signal with cold precision. "The beacon has been activated," the AI intoned. "Initiating fleet mobilization. Humanity's call has been answered." The galaxy would soon remember why the Deathworlders were both feared and revered. The Calvarim emerged from hyperspace into a region of space that didn't appear on any Confederacy star charts. It was as if the coordinates themselves had guided them to an invisible corner of the galaxy, shielded from prying eyes. The crew's collective unease deepened as they scanned their surroundings. Ahead of them was a vast debris field, a graveyard of ancient ships suspended in eternal silence. The ships were enormous, unlike anything they had ever seen, sleek and predatory, yet unmistakably human in design. Some were shattered beyond recognition, their hulls torn open as if by some colossal force. Others appeared intact but lifeless, their dark surfaces glinting ominously in the distant light of a red nebula. "Captain," the sensor officer stammered, "there's activity. Movement within the field." Tevik's frill stiffened. "What kind of movement?" "I don't know, sir. It's fast and it's heading straight for us." The crew barely had time to react before a swarm of small, agile craft darted out from the debris field. They moved with terrifying precision, surrounding the Calvarim in a synchronized formation. Their sleek, black hulls reflected no light, making them appear like shadows against the void. "Shields up. Open comms." Tevik barked, his voice cutting through the rising panic. Before the order could be executed, a booming voice filled the bridge. It was cold and mechanical, yet laced with a human-like cadence that sent chills down their spines. "Unidentified vessel, you have trespassed into restricted Terran space. State your purpose or be destroyed." Tevik hesitated for a moment, then straightened. "This is Captain Tevik of the Atral Confederacy starship Calvarim. We intercepted a distress signal originating from this region. We mean no harm." There was a pause and then the voice returned, colder this time. "You have activated the beacon. The terms of the summons are clear. Stand by for boarding." "Boarding?" Tevik's frill flared in alarm. "You can't." Before he could finish, the Calvarim shuddered violently. A massive human ship had emerged from the debris field, dwarfing the Confederacy vessel. Its hull was etched with battle scars, and its weapon systems glowed faintly, as if daring anyone to challenge its authority. The boarding party arrived moments later, materializing directly onto the bridge in a flash of light. They were human, or at least they appeared to be. Clad in sleek, black exosuits, their faces obscured by opaque helmets, they moved with an efficiency that spoke of both discipline and deadly intent. The leader of the group stepped forward, his voice amplified by the suit speakers. "Who activated the beacon?" Tevik raised a hand slowly, his scaled fingers trembling. "We did. But only because—" "You have no idea what you've done," the human interrupted, his tone devoid of emotion. He gestured to one of his subordinates, who stepped forward with a scanning device. The subordinate's voice was soft but firm. "Non-threatening species. Likely uninformed. They're not the enemy." The leader nodded. "Then they'll bear witness instead." The boarding party wasted no time. They connected their systems to the Calvarim's data network and began uploading information at a speed that stunned the Confederacy crew. Screens across the bridge flickered to life, displaying detailed maps of the galaxy, tactical readouts, and a chilling series of historical records. Tevik and his crew watched in silence as the humans' long-forgotten history unfolded before them. Humanity, it seemed, had once been a part of the galaxy's political and military landscape. They had been explorers, traders, and warriors, pushing the boundaries of known space. But their ambition had made them enemies. A coalition of alien races, fearful of humanity's growing power, had conspired to destroy them. Entire fleets had been sent to Earth's solar system, intent on eradicating the Deathworlders once and for all. But humanity had not gone quietly. The records showed the Terran Defense Fleet unleashing weapons and tactics unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They fought with a ferocity that defied logic, turning their home system into a fortress of destruction. The coalition forces suffered staggering losses, and though they eventually succeeded in devastating Earth, the cost was immeasurable. And then humanity disappeared. "What happened to them?" Tevik asked, his voice barely a whisper. The human leader turned to him, his helmet visor reflecting the captain's anxious face. "We survived," he said simply. "And we learned." "What did you learn?" "To never trust the galaxy again." The tension on the bridge was palpable as the humans completed their data transfer. The leader finally turned to Tevik. "You activated the beacon," he said. "That means someone out there is desperate enough to call us." "Who?" Tevik hesitated, then relayed the details of a recent invasion on the fringes of Confederacy space. A powerful alien species known as the Zorax had begun a campaign of conquest, wiping out entire planets and enslaving their populations. The Confederacy was struggling to hold them back. The human leader listened without interruption, his posture unreadable. When Tevik finished, he nodded. "Then we'll answer the call." Tevik's frill twitched in disbelief. "You'll help us?" "We'll stop the Zorax," the human said. But understand this, we do not fight for you. We fight to remind the galaxy of what happens when it awakens humanity's wrath. As the humans departed, leaving the Calvarim intact but shaken, Tevik realized the full weight of what he had witnessed. The Terran fleet was not a remnant of a lost species. It was a storm, dormant but undiminished. And now the galaxy was about to feel its fury once more. The Zorax war machine churned inexorably through the Confederacy's outer colonies, its relentless advance leaving devastation in its wake. On each conquered world, the same message echoed. Submit or be erased. Entire planets fell silent as their populations either fled or were enslaved. Desperation rippled through the Confederacy, and many began to lose hope. But whispers spread of something new, a force summoned from the void, a power forgotten by the galaxy. At first, the rumors were dismissed as the delusions of frightened refugees. Yet, as more reports surfaced of black ships materializing in Zorax-occupied systems, the galaxy began to pay attention. The first confirmed sighting came from a reconnaissance team orbiting Relanis for a barren, strategically insignificant outpost. The Zorax had set up a forward base there, its skies dominated by the grotesque silhouettes of their warships. As the team observed, a fleet of dark, angular vessels dropped from hyperspace with a precision that bordered on predatory. The Terrans had arrived. The Zorax base commander, Koreshvok, observed the new arrivals with disdain. The ships were unlike any he had seen, sleek, black as the void and bristling with weaponry. Yet their numbers were modest compared to the Zorax armada. Is this the Confederacy's last pathetic attempt to resist us? Koreshvok sneered. Pathetic? He ordered his ships to intercept, confident in the superiority of Zorax firepower. What followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Terran fleet moved with eerie coordination, their ships weaving through Zorax formations like predators circling prey. Their weapons, compact yet devastatingly efficient, tore through the enemy's shields and hulls with pinpoint accuracy. Zorax vessels exploded in rapid succession, their remnants scattering like debris in a storm. Then the ground assault began. Terran dropships descended onto Relanis 4 with the precision of guided missiles. The Zorax defenders, confident in their fortified positions, prepared for a traditional battle. What they faced instead defied understanding. Terran soldiers, clad in adaptive exosuits, moved with a speed and lethality that rendered the Zorax tactics obsolete. They wielded weapons that disintegrated armor and unleashed pulses of electromagnetic chaos, disabling entire squadrons of enemies at once. Drones swarmed ahead of them, mapping the terrain and targeting enemies with surgical precision. For every Zorax soldier, there seemed to be an unyielding Terran counterpart. Their movements were methodical, their strikes devastating. Within hours, the Zorax base was in ruins, its defenders either dead or retreating in disarray. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the Terrans broadcast their victory across all known communication channels. The message was simple. Relanis 4 has been liberated. Humanity has returned. News of the Terrans' resurgence spread like wildfire, igniting both hope and fear across the Confederacy. For every colony that cheered their arrival, there were whispers of caution. These were not saviors, they were something far more dangerous, a force of nature that had been provoked. Captain Tevik, now stationed on the Confederacy's command vessel Aurora's Light, was summoned to witness the next stage of the Terran campaign. Alongside other high-ranking officials, he stood in the war room, watching as holographic displays lit up with real-time feeds from Zorax-controlled systems. "What are they doing?" one of the admirals asked, her voice tinged with unease. "They're striking their supply lines," Tevik replied, his eyes fixed on the unfolding battle. "Every refinery, every transport hub, every shipyard. They're dismantling the Zorax piece by piece." The admiral frowned. "But why not target their core systems directly?" "Because they're sending a message," Tevik said, his voice low. "They want the Zorax to feel the weight of their mistake. They want them to understand what happens when you awaken a sleeping giant." The Terran strategy was both ruthless and efficient. They didn't merely defeat the Zorax, they dismantled them. Their fleet struck with precision, targeting critical infrastructure and leaving planets intact but powerless. Entire Zorax fleets were reduced to scrap before they could mount a defense. On the ground, the Terrans demonstrated a level of control that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Civilians were spared, infrastructure preserved, but any Zorax resistance was annihilated without hesitation. It was on the heavily fortified world of Zarin Prime that the full might of humanity was revealed. The Zorax had made the planet their command hub, fortifying it with layers of defenses and garrisoning their most elite forces. They believed it to be impregnable. The Terrans proved them wrong. A single Terran dreadnought emerged from hyperspace above Zarin Prime, its presence alone sending ripples of panic through the Zorax command. The ship, Erebus, was a relic of humanity's past wars, but its capabilities were anything but outdated. From its hull emerged a swarm of autonomous drones, each equipped with advanced weaponry and shield systems. They descended onto Zarin Prime like a storm, targeting anti-aircraft defenses and communication hubs with pinpoint accuracy. The Zorax forces scrambled to respond, but their efforts were futile. The Erebus unleashed a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a gravitational disruptor that rendered the planet's defenses inert. As the Zorax garrison fell into chaos, the Terran ground forces deployed. What followed was not a battle, but an execution. The Terrans moved through the Zorax forces like a force of nature, unstoppable and unrelenting. Within hours, the once mighty stronghold of Zarin Prime was under Terran control. The Confederacy leaders, watching the events unfold from their secure command centers, were both awed and horrified. They had summoned humanity in their desperation, and humanity had delivered. But at what cost? Captain Tevik, now a reluctant liaison between the Confederacy and the Terrans, was summoned to meet with the human commander. As he stepped into the Terran flagship, he couldn't help but feel the weight of history pressing down on him. These were not the humans of legend, but something far more formidable. A species forged in the fires of betrayal and war, determined never to be vulnerable again. The Terran commander, a stern figure with a gaze that seemed to pierce through Tevik, spoke without preamble. "The Zorax are finished," he said. "But understand this, Captain. We didn't fight this war for you. We fought it because it was necessary to remind the galaxy of who we are." Tevik nodded, his frill twitching nervously. "And who are you?" The commander's expression hardened. "We are humanity. And we do not forgive. We do not forget." As the Terrans departed, leaving the Zorax shattered and the galaxy trembling, Tevik realized the full weight of their warning. Humanity had returned, not as saviors, but as a force to be reckoned with. And the galaxy would never be the same. The shattered remnants of the Zorax fleet drifted in silence above Zarin Prime, their once proud warships now lifeless husks. The Confederacy's leadership, viewing the aftermath from their secure command hubs, sat in tense silence. The scale of devastation wrought by the Terrans was almost incomprehensible, yet it wasn't just the destruction that unnerved them, it was the precision, the efficiency, the unmistakable intent behind every action. This was no war of conquest. It was a message. On the bridge of the Erebus, Commander Lysander stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze fixed on the holographic display of the galaxy's political map. Systems under Zorax control flickered, one by one from red to neutral, their infrastructure obliterated and their fleets eradicated. "We've received transmissions from the remaining Zorax leadership," reported an officer. "They're begging for terms." Lysander's jaw tightened. "Terms?" His voice was cold, unyielding. "They bombed our colony, slaughtered our people, and mocked our warnings. Now they seek mercy?" He turned to face the officer, his expression unreadable. "Open a channel." The holographic projection shifted to display the trembling figure of Koreshvok, the Zorax supreme warlord. His once commanding presence had withered into desperation, his eyes darting nervously as he addressed the Terran commander. "Commander Lysander," Koreshvok began, his voice unsteady. We were wrong to provoke your kind. We underestimated humanity, and we deeply regret our actions. Please spare what remains of our people." Lysander's expression remained cold. "Spare you? After you unleashed devastation upon us without provocation? After you dismissed our warnings as mere bluster? You brought this upon yourselves." Koreshvok hesitated, his desperation growing. "We can offer reparations, resources, technology, alliances. Whatever you desire." Lysander leaned forward, his voice low and firm. "What we desire is for you to remember this moment. Remember the cost of your arrogance. Humanity will not be provoked again. The galaxy now knows what happens when you make us mad." With that, Lysander ended the transmission. The victory was absolute, yet it left a profound ripple through the galactic community. The Confederacy, grateful for humanity's intervention, was quick to offer their thanks, but their messages were met with an icy reception. On the Aurora's light, Captain Tevik watched a broadcast of Terran forces dismantling their war machines. After every battle, the humans took nothing for themselves, leaving systems stripped of war-making capabilities but intact for recovery. They're not conquerors, he murmured to himself. They're avengers. Tevik received word that the Terrans wished to meet with him once more. This time the meeting took place on neutral ground, a war-torn colony world liberated by the humans. Commander Lysander greeted him with a handshake, though the gesture felt more perfunctory than friendly. You asked for this war to end, Lysander began, his tone measured. And it has. But understand, Captain, we didn't do this for the Confederacy. We acted because the Zorax's arrogance threatened more than just humanity. It threatened the stability of the galaxy. Tevik nodded cautiously. We owe you our gratitude but also our respect. You've proven yourselves extraordinary. Lysander's eyes narrowed. Respect is earned, not given. Remember this, Captain. Humanity has no desire for power or dominion. We wish only to live in peace. But if anyone disturbs that peace again, the consequences will be far worse than what you've witnessed. The words hung in the air like a blade, sharp and unyielding. The galaxy slowly began to rebuild in the wake of the Terran campaign. The Zorax, stripped of their fleets and military might, retreated into isolation, their empire reduced to a shadow of its former self. The Confederacy, meanwhile, worked to repair alliances and strengthen defenses, acutely aware of the new reality they faced. Humanity did not withdraw entirely. While their fleets vanished back into the void, whispers of Terran envoys and covert operatives began to circulate. They were watching, ensuring the lesson they had taught was not forgotten. Years later, in the halls of the Intergalactic Council, a plaque was erected to commemorate the events of the Terran intervention. It bore a simple inscription, a stark reminder to all who read it. Asterisk, do not provoke humanity. Some warnings are given not out of fear but out of mercy. Asterisk. The galaxy, forever changed by the wrath and mercy of the Deathworlders, heeded that warning. Humanity had shown its hand, not as conquerors but as protectors of their own. And in doing so, they had secured their place as a force to be respected, a species not to be trifled with. For as long as the stars burned, the lesson would remain: never underestimate humanity.